Andrew Birch. Will Gladstone.
Will said he was going to be
They-
virtual.
They said that they would be here on Zoom.
Will and Andrew.
Will did. I don't know about the.
Yeah, Will told me he'd be online, so.
He's not at the moment.
Okay, we still will need Will for. All right. Kurt Magnan.
He's supposed to be online.
Okay.
I don't know if he's there yet.
John Jenkins. Martha Manning. Dina Benjamin.
Martha had said she'd be here in person, but she might be taking a walk. Yeah.
We're gonna send someone down to the lobby, maybe they're clogged there.
Okay.
Keep going.
Tom Bellavance.
Here,
Darlene Reynolds. Sarah Stebbins. Katie Lawyer Hale. Mateo Keller. Jeremy Stevenson.
Here, and I apologize, I may be jumping in and out, but I will be here.
Great.
As much as I
And
can.
And then Seth Gardner.
here.
So we still are needing one for a quorum for Agrimark, and I had Dina listed as already here, but is that not correct?
She's calling in from the road and should be here by 10:30.
Okay, so we still need 4 for a quorum from DFA.
Okay. Well, I think we can proceed, as long as we're not taking any action, we can proceed with the program. So why don't we skip, I know poll has gone down, just for everyone's awareness, we are televising and recording the meeting as well. So this is all being recorded, part of the public meeting process.
Secretary Tibbetts, who are all those people who are online?
Yes, we may have some of the people that have put bids in that may be joining us. So that is as part of the process, they're allowed to be part of that. So I don't, maybe it's worthwhile, maybe from folks online, maybe you could introduce yourself and say your organization as well. So why don't we begin with, I think Laura is the first one I see. So Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Rink. I am from Rink Advertising and calling in from Maine. I'll pass it over to the one other person from Rink who's on the line, and that's Tony.
Tony Bird, Rink Advertising. Thank you for having us this morning. I see Ara, I think, is off is on video, so maybe I'll pass to her.
Sounds good. I'm Ara Hagen. I'm from Hagen Marketing, also submitted for the bid. So excited to just be able to listen.
Brian?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brad Mellon. I am calling in on behalf of the joint venture between She Likes Milk and Creators United. I'm calling in from Stratton, Vermont.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Harka. I'm Director of Nutrition Programs with Louisa Dairy.
Maureen?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maureen Bellatori. I'm the founder and CEO of Agency 29, coming at you from the Finger Lakes region of New York today.
Ryan?
You say Ryan, this is Ryan Jennings. I am the SVP of Client Services here at TideSmart, coming from Portland, Maine.
Now, we saw Jeremy's my last one on the screen. If anyone else would like to introduce themselves that's online.
Do you want me to call?
Yeah. Okay.
Chelsea Johnson.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Johnson. I'm the development manager of the Vermont Cheese Council, and I'm calling in from Delhi, New York.
Christine Campbell.
Christine Campbell.
Hi, I'm Christine Campbell. I am also with TideSmart, like Ryan Jennings and Ryan Kavanaugh, who may be after me, and we're here in Maine.
And Melinda Davis.
Hi, I'm Melinda Davis. I'm with HP Hood, but representing the VBIA.
Erin Holy.
Hi, I'm Erin Hooley. I'm Director of Youth Wellness at New England Dairy.
And let's see. Ryan Jennings, Ryan Kavanaugh. Introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Kavanaugh. I'm also part of the TideSmart team here in Maine.
Okay, and Ryan Sadorf. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think that's everyone online.
And members of the public are also able to join. So people may or may not be coming on. I just let somebody in, for example, who has an all flex name tag or name. So other people may come on throughout the day.
And why don't we go to the room? Jenny.
Hello, everyone. Jenny Carl. I'm the CEO for New England Dairy.
I'm Michael DeAngelis, Vice President of Integrated Marketing Communications for New England Dairy.
Jill Hustle, Senior Nutrition Specialist, New England Dairy here in Vermont.
Okay, Alicia Pinspelt, Farmer Relations Manager from Hasselbeck in Vermont.
Mark Mast, I'm Director of Business Development with Juniper.
I'm Haley Elkins. I'm the Executive Director of Vermont Cheese Council, hailing from Essex Junction, Vermont.
Good morning, Martha.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. All right, so we can continue on. And now we're going to go over just to the review of the public meeting process. I think Nicole's going to lead us with that.
Yes. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. I was checking the lobby. Nicole Dubuque, South Hero, Vermont, I think is what we're saying. Where we are. So I just wanted to take a minute and go over a high-level summary of public meeting law and kind of what that means, so we can talk about this meeting in particular and it being recorded. Reading some of this from the statute. So this is a reminder that we're doing a hybrid meeting today, which means that we have to have place in person, and we're also allowing people to join virtually. We're having a gathering of a quorum of the members of the Vermont Dairy Promotion Council, a public body established to oversee the expenditure of and take action on promotion money collected through the federal milk checkoff on raw milk solid by dairy farmers. Public body, right, means any board, council, or commission of the state. All meetings of a public body are declared to be open to the public at all times, with a few exceptions, such as executive session. I was going to talk a little bit about how to go into executive session, if that's something throughout the day that the members feel they would like to do. So basically, to go into executive session, you need one, a motion to enter executive session because premature general public knowledge of the issue for discussion would clearly place the VDPC or an involved person at a substantial disadvantage. Two, the motion should include the general topics of discussion and statutory reasons for executive session. Three, a 2/3 affirmative vote by the council members present, finding that executive session is warranted. The motion and vote must be an open session with the vote recorded in the minutes. And then once in executive session, only the issues voted on for discussion in executive session may be discussed. And when using the exemption for public records as the sole basis, only the exempt information in the records at issue can be discussed. The council may not take any formal or binding votes in executive session. And then I have here a sample of like what you might say if you wanted to make a motion. I don't know if you would like that example now, or maybe would folks like to hear that now?
I think most of us know how a meeting is run, so. I think that would be too much.
I got a quick question. For to leave executive session, you need to make a motion. But is that motion public record? Or is that motion done in executive session?
So the motion to leave executive session is part of the executive session, as far as I'm aware. It's just that in the executive session, you're having this discussion, basically that like, if the public knows this information, it's putting someone at a
No,
disadvantage.
I know that. It's the motion though, to leave. We struggled with this last night. It's like, what meeting I was at? It's like, do you make the motion when you're out of executive session? Do you make the motion when you're in executive session? To leave executive session.
Yeah. I would
And then it's not a matter of public record. The motion.
As far as I'm
Executive
aware,
session.
we do have an attorney on the line. I'd like to ask formally, but
It's a little confusing.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's in, and I think
So we did it both ways.
the
We did
key
it.
part is when you actually take action, it has to be done in public.
Yeah, right. That's always been that way.
Yeah.
The new law, a new way that we're supposed to do it is make a motion to leave. It wasn't done that way before. New. It's a new requirement that you make the motion to leave before you get left.
Okay.
So that was just the question is, do you make that motion after you leave executive session or do you make it in executive session?
My understanding would be that you would make the motion to end the executive session and then
Then you're out.
we would be notified to restart the recording.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm hearing Beth say that you guys know most of this, and I will put the link in the meeting notes in case anyone wants to read up on it, and if we need an example later in the day, I'm happy to provide that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And I believe some folks have joined online. If you weren't introduced earlier, maybe, or we've got a couple people join now, so I think we're getting close to a quorum.
Nobody else from DFA has joined online.
Okay. One from, Mr. Gladstone is on, right?
Yeah,
So-
Will Gladstone, Newmont Farm.
Yeah, so what else? Okay, well, let's get right into, if there's any follow-up questions at all. If not, we'll move into the presentation. Keep in mind, with the budget, a lot of these projects may not be completed yet. We're still in the calendar year. So we're getting updates here in October, but some of the financing goes until December. So let's begin with New England Dairy. New England Dairy wants to give an update of some of the programming they've done over the last few months since we last got together.
Is there a clicker? Do you want us to ask to advance?
Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, great. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for having us, New England Dairy. Happy to be here. So to Anson's point, this is really in advance. You should have received our second and third quarter update. So today we're just really going to top line it. Again, my name is Jenny Carl. I'm the CEO for New England Dairy. We have Michael DeAngelis, who leads our communications, Jill Hustles, who leads our nutrition work here in Vermont, and then also Alicia Pincinel, who's also based in Vermont, and she leads our farmer relations efforts. And we have Heidi Dolliff, who is our chairperson and Farms with Her Family in Springfield, Vermont. So thank you for having us today. Next slide, please. So a little bit about us, because I know there are some new faces to the board. So we are New England Dairy. We're the leading dairy promotion organization in New England. For the last 100 years, we've been working on behalf of New England dairy farmers, really advancing your goals in terms of growing sales and trust in dairy throughout the region. We are in 5 New England states. So we're Vermont, we're in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. So not only where the milk is produced, mainly here in Vermont, but also where your milk goes in some of those key markets where we have over 13 million consumers. We have over 1.9 million students, 4,600 schools. And the way that we can make this happen, the magic happen, is because of our staff. We have like 18 dedicated dairy advocates who are passionate about promoting your product. They're really your voice on the front lines when we're talking to consumers, we're talking to media, health professionals, and the like. So they really help make that magic happen. They have expertise in dairy, expertise in nutrition, communications, and media relations. So helping to really put that expertise to work for you. Not only do we have our staff, we also have our board of directors of dairy farmers. There's 11 dairy farmers who are on our board. 6 of them are Vermont dairy farmers. So really, we are like all dairy all day. Most of us didn't grow up in dairy, but we've brought our expertise to the table, that we understand the communications piece. And now we also understand the dairy piece as well to put our expertise to work for you. Next slide.
Sorry, people in a different meeting.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Bring them over. Okay, great.
Yeah, you
All
can
right.
go ahead now.
A little bit about our core values. So how we show up on your behalf with consumers is keep it real. So our organization, we are like straight shooters. There's no BS. We just tell it like it is. We're very fact-based. We're very research-based. And that's how we show up for you. We're very committed to measuring and evaluating what we're doing, and then also evolving our programming based on that feedback and how things are going. We're also collaborative. We know that we cannot reach 13 million people by ourselves. There are a lot of different decision makers. We can't control all of that, but really working with government, working with different agencies, working with nutrition directors and organizations statewide and region-wide, we can help make other people's priorities be really aligned with dairy farmer priorities. So we're very collaborative in that way, and then also innovative. We're not afraid to try new things. We like to pilot things first, start small, see how they go, and then build from there to make sure that we're spending your money wisely. Next slide. And part of the reason that we're able to punch above our weight is because we're part of a nationwide network of dairy promotion organizations. We're part of United Dairy Industry Association, or UDIA. And so here's a map of some of the members. So there's 14 of us across the country. Dairy farmers formed UDIA because they wanted to make sure that we were being efficient and effective with the dollars. Midwest Dairy doesn't have to fund an export council. We should all come together and form the U.S. Dairy Export Council, so we're not spending the same dairy farmer dollars twice. So UDIA, we all come together to form a unified plan for the entire year where we customize locally to our local market. So we're really at the table creating the programs, executing the programs, and evaluating the programs. Part of the benefit of this too is that we co-fund things. So we co-fund national partnerships with like Domino's and Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, where a lot of cheese gets sold. We also partner with Feeding America to make sure there's milk flowing through our food banks. We also, like I said, mentioned, formed the U.S. Dairy Export Council. So we don't have to create 14 of them. We just have one U.S. Dairy Export Council with one mission, which is to grow overseas sales of U.S. dairy products. We also co-fund research and insights. So nutrition research all across the country, we're co-funding that, including our national organization is already funding research at UNH, at UMass Lowell, UConn, Boston University. So there's already like a really robust research plan for nutrition research, innovation research, product research that we all kind of co-fund, and then we all benefit from, can pull back to our New England region, to give you some examples there. So really working together so that we can learn from Midwest, we can learn what's going on in Washington State. So it's really a great collective that we're all a part of, to bring kind of like the best back to New England. Next slide. It's not going to be a surprise to you that oftentimes where milk is produced is separate from where the consumers are. So in Vermont, you produce over 75% of the milk in our region, but Vermont is only about 5% of the population. So your milk not only feeds Vermonters, but feeds the rest of New England. So down here in Massachusetts, which is where I live, there's not a lot of milk production. If this is a glass of milk, it's probably this much, but we need Vermont to help fill our glasses to make sure that we all have enough dairy, for the 13 million consumers throughout New England. So it's important for us to not only be where the milk is being produced, but also where that milk goes. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, great, thank you. So really our approach as an organization is really like a Vermont plus approach. We know that we need to be in Vermont. We need to protect your right to farm and do what you do. Otherwise, nothing else matters. We need you as dairy farmers here in Vermont. So we are here to help tell your story, to work with the media, help with your open farm days, help if there's an issue on the farm. How do we help? We want to help you get that positive dairy message out there to the public so that your neighbors and other key stakeholders understand what you do and can support you to thrive. But and also it's important for us to be in the markets where your milk goes, and that's where our staff comes in, where we are already in those markets. We already have great relationships and deep relationships in there. So really working together, Vermont plus, farmers in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island together for like a whole regional approach to make sure that we're spending your money wisely and can be as efficient and effective as possible. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to Michael to talk a little bit about some of our goals and some of our results from the first two quarters, Q2, Q3.
Yes. So we have two strategic goals that really frame and give us focus on where our work needs to thrive. First is increasing trust among our target consumers. And that's trust in you as dairy farmers, it's trust in the products that you produce, and it's also trust in our organization as your voices, to the public as well. But we're also looking to increase dairy sales, the products you're producing and the markets that they're at. So specifically around the channels of schools and the channels of retail sales, which we'll talk about in a few slides as well. Next slide, please. So the target consumers, the target audiences that we're speaking of in the center of bullseye are teens and young adults and parents of young children. And the reason we're looking at these particular age ranges, actually generational ranges, is because we know that there's erosion in these populations, young kids, teens, and amongst young children, we see erosion, but we also see opportunity in that they're interested. So it's a chance for us to get them to do dairy one more time every day. And so that's why we're really laser focused on these audiences, but also the people, the voices that influence these consumers. So those are dairy farmers like yourself, thought leaders, industry stakeholders like brands, processors, co-ops, all influence what the consumers see, what they hear, and what they do. And so we educate those voices that influence and then work with you all to engage you with our consumer audience. That really helps us move that needle on trust and sales. So we'll begin with our first goal on trust. The next slide, please.
I've got to just hop off of the screen share for a moment to let these other folks in. Okay, there you go. You can keep going. Sorry about that.
I think we're at the next slide.
Sure.
There we go. Next slide. So our first goal is to increase trust among our target audiences that Michael just talked about, so they feel confident about choosing consuming dairy. And we do this by providing clear, science-based information that addresses their questions and reinforces the value benefits of dairy in their daily lives. Next slide. Here's our established annual objectives, focused on impressions, engagements, and perception, blended across our two key audiences, both Gen Z and millennial parents. And we're going to just walk through some of the top highlights that drive these goals. Next slide. Our in-school program, Adopt a Cow, in partnership with Dairy Excellence Foundation, continues to be a success. This is a year-long virtual program that pairs classrooms with a calf from a local dairy farm and using updates, videos, activities, curriculum, and videos that will allow the farm tours and live chats, teaching students about dairy farming and how milk is produced. This past year's program just wrapped up in May with our 2 live chats with our host farms, including Dayona Farm in Shoreham, Vermont. These live chats generated nearly 1,700 views, reaching over 33,000 students, which is a 70% increase over our participation last year, which really shows there's growing engagement in the program. Our year-end teacher survey results indicate that students are increasing their knowledge about dairy and their trust in dairy, which is actually very consistent from year-to-year results. And looking ahead to this current school year, we are seeing, again, more growth. We have increased educator enrollments and student reach. There's a 9.5% reach in students this year. So we are continuing to see that this program is very popular and classrooms are interested in the program. Next slide. So we are committed to building connections with consumers through our Taste, Learn, Meet strategy. So through our experiential marketing program and events we attend with our mobile dairy fleet, we invite consumers to taste real dairy, to learn more about where it comes from and how it's produced, and to meet the farmers behind the milk. We know that enjoyment is a different kind of nutrient. So these events are really effective in helping consumers to reinforce or rediscover their love of dairy. You can see that we were at 35 events throughout our region, including 8 in Vermont at places like Billings Farm, the Vermont Cheesemakers Festival, a lot of events at UVM to reach those young adults, Vermont Breakfast on the Farm, and several others. Next slide, please. So we're investing in social media to reach consumers where they are, which is online. We do this by sharing and creating content like recipes. So you can see there's a video on the left that focuses on how to integrate cottage cheese into pancakes. So to get dairy in different ways that you might not typically expect. We also produce content focused on sustainability messaging and cow care and really telling your story to consumers because we know that you are trusted voices and they want to hear directly from you. We also work with trusted influencers, including lifestyle creators and registered dietitians, who really promote positive dairy messaging and amplify that in really authentic ways. Examples of influencers that we've worked with include Travel Like a Local, who is a Vermont-based influencer whose primary audience is Vermonters, while she also reaches folks from Boston and Connecticut who are traveling up to Vermont during our beautiful times of year and hoping to engage them in dairy while they're here. We're also expanding our influencer network to include influencers who can help us reach our Spanish-speaking consumers in our larger populations. Next slide, please. As Jenny noted, we can't do any of this alone, and you all as farmers are a key audience that we work with to engage in our programming. And one of the ways we do this is through our dairy promotion grants. It is important to us that we are in your communities, but because we can't be everywhere, we want to empower you and other farmers to host events in your communities, and we provide grant funding to do that. So things like the Vermont Dairy Festival in Enosburg Falls, Sundays on the Farm, which you can see, which is at Top Notch Holsteins and the Nadeau Farm. We had a booth at the Orleans County Conservation Fair talking about the importance of dairy. So all of these events are organized by dairy farmers or different dairy groups and supported by New England Dairy. In addition to the funding, we also provide resources and other materials and day of support as needed. Next slide. So moving on to our second objective, which is really looking at New England Dairy as a valuable resource for stakeholders, including dairy farmers. You can see we have 4 objectives in this area and the results to date. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we know it is important that you know what we are doing on your behalf. We have an always on communication style with farmers. So you receive our monthly newsletters, you see our posts on LinkedIn and other social media. You get issues alert when there's things that you need to know about. We post things in trade publications. So it is really important to us that we know, that you know, what we're doing on your behalf, so that we can have alignment and so that we can also meet your needs as farmers. We have our consumer work that is important, but we also have the work that we do for you all. And it's important to me that you know that you can pick up the phone and you can talk to somebody who you know, who you recognize, who's in your communities, and who understands what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. So that's really our goal of our farmer outreach and communications work. We do this often, and you can see that we have pretty good success rate with our 4.5% click rate with our farmer newsletter, which is about 2 times the industry average. Next slide.
So as part of our thought leader outreach, excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. As part of our thought leader outreach to strengthen New England's dairy's reputation as a valued resource, we educated nearly 10,000 health professionals on healthy beverages. We educated health professionals through 4 communications on healthy beverages for children and milk safety. In these communications, we focused on a healthy eating research report that recommended cow's milk for children ages 2 to 18, as well as clarified that plant-based beverages are not adequate substitute. In addition, we also highlighted a recent blog post that took a closer look at milk production and gave the facts about antibiotics and hormone use. In these communications, they performed very exceptionally well. We saw a click-through rate of 11%, which is well above the industry standard of 0.9% for health professionals. This strong engagement indicates that health professionals really do want the truth about dairy. They want accurate information and they trust us to provide it, which really ensures that they have the facts they need to recommend dairy to families that they serve.
I just want to hop in really quick and do a time check. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Equally important is to also work with school nutrition professionals. These are the people that decide what goes on the school meal menus, as well as shape students' eating habits. I was excited back in August. I was able to attend Vermont's largest conference for school nutrition professionals, which is hosted by the School Nutrition Association of Vermont. We sponsored a keynote speaker, Jeannie Riley, who is a well-known national food service director from Maine, who talked about New England Dairy's role as a trusted resource, which was great. She was a great motivational speaker. I also co-presented a session on our Make It Yours customization stations, which really shows schools how they can take dairy forward food bars and put it into action at their schools, which are what students really love. At this conference, as a result, over 155 attendees received tools, education, and inspiration that they could take back to their school and use right away to make those dairy appealing foods in the school meals program that they love. Next slide. Our second goal is to increase dairy sales in our target channels. Next slide. And this is our annual sales objective in schools and our progress to date. And when it comes to increasing dairy sales in school meals, we're really all about enhancing the dairy experience for students. Next slide. And we do this by providing equipment and marketing grants to schools so that they can put these proven programs that increase dairy sales into action, whether it's smoothies, breakfast expansion, or other creative ideas that includes dairy. This year to date, we've provided over $86,000 in grant funding to 67 schools across the region, impacting over 37,000 students, which has resulted in a 6% increase in dairy sales for those schools that have reported their data. And this funding is really about supporting equipment packages. These equipment packages include things like breakfast carts, smoothie blenders, bulk milk dispensers. These are equipment that schools can use year after year, ensuring long-term impact and sustained dairy growth in schools. What?
Joe, we should probably skip through this. And
Okay. Okay.
Advance a little bit, please. Yeah, that's good. This is sales retail. So just to update, yeah, that's good. So these are our progress to date, and we're going to hit these goals by the end of the year. Next slide. So just a little bit about sales of fluid milk currently in our region. This is as of August. And the punchline really being that we're flat, which is positive for New England. We tend to be down 1 to 2%. And you can see that the milk is following the population. So again, a desire for us to market dairy, the foods you're producing and what you're doing on the farm in Vermont and also beyond. Next slide. We do this through e-commerce, which is where you buy things through Instacart. We did a campaign over the summer on dairy enjoyment. We have one coming out on the holidays for November, December. And this had a great return on investment. For $1 of ad spend, we got $11 in sales. And you'll see some products that are right here in Vermont as well. Some of you make those around the table. Next slide. And then we can't do this without working with partners. So these are the folks that we work with in various ways, whether we're providing resources, providing educational resources, providing research updates to them, or literally engaging them with sales opportunities, like with Storyland. And then Price Chopper will be part of our campaign in the holiday season as well, working with them directly on retail sales. So we can't do it without these partners, co-op brands, co-ops, processors, engaging them, as well as helping them with resources they don't have that we have through our partnership with Dairy Management Incorporated and the research we're able to do with them as well. With that, I think our next slide is about questions.
Good. Thank you very much. Any questions from anyone in the room or online from the dairy?
I don't think that you've been tracking organic milk sales. You said milk consumption in the New England area is flat. From my understanding, through Organic Valley, the co-op I belong to, is that their milk sales are up significantly. But you don't track that, or?
So this is a the whole
Okay.
category, and organic is a subset, and you're correct.
So organic milk sales could be offsetting the downside of
Potentially.
conventional milk.
That was part of the factor. I would say it would be true, part of the factor. There's
Yeah.
also more people are trading into whole milk. And with
Yes.
all the good news on whole milk
Right.
as well, more people are coming back to the category. Yeah, so I think organic is part of the big picture story.
Okay,
I would,
it'd be nice to see that.
yeah,
You
we have
could
data for that.
differentiate between those two trends. Conventional milk sales, where are they in relation to the overall picture?
Yeah.
With the organic separated and seeing how that works. I mean, I know that's just data that as an organic milk producer, I like to see.
Yeah, and we have that. We can definitely
Okay.
share that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. Good question.
I appreciate the focus on nutrition in schools. Over the past 20 years, milk sales seem to be fluid milk sales are had declined 20% or somewhere in that ballpark. But cheese production and sales have increased. 72% of Vermont's milk goes into cheese, but I don't hear a lot of cheese focused. It all seems to be fluid, and fluid milk sales are down. So can you explain a little bit to me about how you're conceiving about marketing Vermont milk when the focus seems to be on the 20-some% of the volume that goes to fluid?
So you're right. I mean, so over time, there's been a trade-off between in terms of so overall dairy consumption is up and dairy consumption continues to grow. And folks are trading, instead of drinking their milk, right? More people are eating their milk in terms of cheese. So it's true that there are trade-offs between people kind of switching to milk from milk into cheese or other categories. So that has been a trend since the 1970s, the trading. What's interesting about the fluid milk sales, right now, they're actually flat, which is good, to Michael's point, in that they're not dropping because they were dropping a couple percent each year. And part of that is because of breakfast. Most milk is something like 30 or something percent of milk is eaten on cereal, and people aren't eating cereal anymore. So the milk that was on cereal, now, we want them to drink lattes or get it in a different way. So we promote all dairy. It's not just fluid milk or cheese or yogurt. We don't have a preference. It's more just the way people want to eat it, we want to deliver it. So what's the problem we can help them solve? Alicia was talking about cottage cheese is having a huge moment. If people want protein, we're going to heavy up on, make a bagel out of cottage cheese, make a cottage cheese pancakes, etc. So we're always paying attention to what are consumers looking for? What's the problem that dairy can help solve? And right now it is protein, it is cottage cheese, it is milk. Starbucks has these foams that go on top of the coffee. It's having a moment. So we kind of try to understand where people are going and what they're looking for and how dairy can fit that need. And to your point, it could be cheese. It could also be a beverage in the late afternoon. It could be dairy as a pick-me-up, in the morning. So we're not all about fluid or all about cheese. It's the whole package. So it's whatever meets that person at that moment, whether it's snacking or breakfast or what have you. So we are about all dairy, not just cheese or milk or yogurt.
In our e-commerce campaign, when I went through a little fast through, I believe your product was actually in the UPC, the codes that we gave to Instacart to make sure it's on the list. So when people click on our ad, your product, Cabot's product. So it was focused on cheese and ice cream. That was the key focus of that campaign. We also did an event with influencers to make cheese boards, teach them how to make cheese boards, and they shared out that content. I also believe Jasper Hill product was actually used in that cheese board class too. So cheese is something we definitely lean into because people love it, right? So it's an easy sell, but then what can we talk about? There's protein, right? There's it's also cultured. So there's living culture. So there's things that we can really lean into on the nutrition and health wellness story that cheese brings to the table too. So it's definitely part of our portfolio.
Well, thank you very much. Good. So we're up to.
We just need to, so a few more people have joined. I see Kurt Magnan has joined, Representative Nelson has joined, and then I see a couple phone numbers. If you weren't here for roll call and you joined us kind of during the New England Dairy presentation, if you could just announce yourself, introduce yourself, that would be great.
It's not possible that 70% of Vermont's
Gina Benjamin is driving. She's a 782 number.
Okay.
And then the two folks in the room here.
Why don't you introduce yourself? Welcome. Nice to see you all. So just for everyone's awareness, name and what your affiliation is.
John Jenkins, I'm a delegate for DFA.
See you.
Andy Birch, I'm an alternate voting rep for Agrimark.
Great to see you. Okay, I think we're going to move on to Chiefs Council. Is that right? All right.
Hello, my name is Haley Elkins. I'm the Executive Director of the Vermont Cheese Council. We are a small but mighty staff of one full-time member here looking at her and three part-time staffers who are dedicated to the production and the advancement of Vermont cheese, as well as fostering cheese community. So we are, if you want to move to the next slide, made up of 40 cheesemakers and producers, 60% of whom are farmstead makers who are producing their own milk. So that means that they are making cheese from their own herd or their own flock. Most of them are small makers, and then our largest makers, of course, include Cabot Creamery as well as Vermont Creamery. So we just heard that more than 70% of the milk produced in the state is turned into cheese. And if you'll hit the next slide, you're going to see a lot of folks who do it. Our members include Jasper Hill, Maplebrook Farm, Plymouth Cheese, Grafton Cheese, Vermont Farmstead, and some other folks that you might recognize up here are Boston Post Dairy, who've been farming since 1962, Green Mountain Blue Cheese, which is part of the Boucher family farm, so they're 14-generation dairy farmers, and then Molly and Sebastian Von Trapp at Von Trapp Farmstead, who are in their 75th year. But we also have first-generation dairy farmers and cheesemakers like Melanie and Tyler Webb at Stony Pond, as well as Christine and Pat McHugh at Fern River Farm. We also include 4 nonprofit organizations that are working dairy farms and cheese producers who have strong educational missions to protect dairy heritage. And those are Billings Farm and Museum, Shelburne Farms, Hildene, and Springbrook. Next slide. So kind of most recently, our Vermont Cheesemakers Festival at Shelburne Farms on August 10th was in their beautiful breeding barn location. It is a cathedral of a barn, if you have not seen it. It featured 30 Vermont cheesemakers, so 75% of our membership were there on deck with us. 67% of the makers present were farmstead makers and dairy farmers themselves. Media attendance included Oprah, Delish, Food and Wine, Eat Vermont, 7 Days, WCAX, and more. You'll hit the next slide. Our Vermont Cheesemakers Festival also includes an industry hour at the very front end of it that is just for distributors, retail owners, cheesemongers, chefs, more industry buyers, and our makers reported as a result of this hour, 45 new leads generated for them cumulatively. We had at the entire festival 1,036 attendees overall, who spent an estimated $30,000 buying cheese directly from makers on site that day in a span of about 5 hours. That cheese sold represented an estimated 1,600 gallons of fluid milk in its production in that 5-hour period that was sold. In our event surveying, we collected data, so you'll see this little pie graph right here, on how much attendees spent at the festival, and then broke them into categories so that we could intentionally cultivate an audience that was there to support Vermont cheesemakers and drive sales for production. So we literally asked people, how much did you spend? And then we also talked to cheese producers and said, how much did you sell? So the big spenders spent more than $50. They were there. The big spenders and the mid-range spenders were there. They told us unequivocally, we're here to talk to Vermont dairy farmers and cheesemakers firsthand about their products, about their cheese. They get really excited about that. And we're here to buy cheese. That is why we are here. 85% of these categories said that they want to attend next year. And of folks who said they probably wouldn't come back next year, they said not that it was a never again, but it was probably an every other year thing for them. Next slide. We also support cheesemakers entering competitions because we know when Vermont cheesemakers enter competitions, they win. Our Vermont cheesemakers take home approximately 150 awards each year, and that's just from the 4 major cheese and dairy competitions. So the Vermont Cheese Council reimburses our makers their entry fees up to a certain amount. And we also partner with Cabot to eliminate shipping costs and entry fees for makers to enter these competitions, because we work with Cabot to transport their entries on a refrigerated truck where we know that Cabot is going to take excellent care of them versus putting them with ice packs in FedEx and overnight shipping them. So that kind of further elevates the Vermont cheese brand, because then the product arrives in excellent condition before it is judged. This year, we have organized and consolidated shipping for 15 cheesemakers for whom shipping would have been a significant financial burden for them. Vermont cheesemakers, as a result of this, took home 49 awards at the American Cheese Society, with multiple first place ribbons going to Cabot Creamery and Jasper Hill Farm, as well as first places for Vermont Creamery, Fat Sheep Farm, Grafton Village Cheese, and Shelburne Farms. We also attended the ACS competition ourselves, as well as the conference, to represent the Vermont cheese brand, as well as distributing materials, attending the events, and making connections. The next slide. We also spent the year implementing multiple social media campaigns, including bringing influencers in to visit farm and creameries directly to promote Vermont Cheese Week, the Vermont Cheese Trail. We also spent time with producers ourselves this year, as well as the retailers that represent their product and other partners, to kind of gather meaningful social media content, as well as conduct some market research while we were there. Our goal is to connect the story of Vermont cheesemaking to the story of Vermont's working landscape, with dairy and value-added products as its backbone, and to increase trust in the Vermont cheese brand and to differentiate the Vermont cheese brand in the marketplace. So after implementation of these holistic media strategies, we saw a 300% increase in followers, which is big for us. From before the implementation of the strategy to after. And in about a period of 5 to 6 months, we saw over 700,000 views, which again, for our small but mighty team, is big for us. You'll hit the next slide. We also, in September, conducted Vermont Cheese Week, September 6th through 13th, which is restaurant specials, it's farm tours, it's cheese dinners on farm, special events, it's lodging packages, all with the goal to increase the Vermont cheese sales for Vermont cheese producers. So we saw more than 25 special events in every corner of Vermont. One producer remarked that they typically have one request for a creamery tour at this time of year. Vermont Cheese Week, they had 6. Multiple producers told us that they had seen great weeks at their farm stands, some with sales doubling what they would normally do this year. So we're still compiling our data because it was so close in time to where we are right now. But we're initially estimating that 1,500 to 2,000 people directly came into Vermont to participate in Vermont Cheese Week. I myself spoke to folks from Louisiana, Florida, the Carolinas, Philadelphia, DC, who had all come into the state for Vermont Cheese Week. We also organized radio advertisements in Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, reaching thousands and thousands of people with messaging about Vermont cheese. You'll hit the next slide. So far in 2025, we have distributed more than 10,000 Vermont Cheese Trail maps. So that's through Vermont Welcome Centers, that's through makers and retail partners, that's at trade shows and events. And then that is by mailing direct to consumers, anyone who requests the Vermont Cheese Trail map on our website. You're looking at her, literally puts it in an envelope, puts a stamp on it, and puts it in the mail to them. So the Vermont Cheese Trail not only crafts a story of Vermont cheese as being this experiential showstopper, this thing worth visiting Vermont for, but it also encourages folks to bring traffic directly to makers' farm stands, their creameries, and to lodging. It's something that is not up here with its own dedicated slide, but it was an extensive undertaking that we're very proud of, is that we coordinated photography for 9 members' farms and their creameries and their cheese products, with over 850 professional photographs produced to promote Vermont cheese. Some of these are mine, so they are not professional. But multiple makers have already begun using their product and farm photos and their make space photography in their own advertising, also in news stories. So you might have seen Fat Sheep Farm Their beautiful kind of cover photo in the Boston Globe, that was a photo that we had taken professionally. So the Agency of Agriculture as well as the Department of Tourism both have access to these photos. And our intention is to use them to tell these compelling stories about how Vermont dairy is synonymous with earnest, hardworking people who care about healthy food access and responsibly stewarding a working Vermont dairy landscape. And frankly, care about being good neighbors. That's the story that we like to tell at the Vermont Cheese Council. So that is just the high points kind of what we've done this year, but are there any questions I can answer? Yes, sir.
How many pounds of cheese are made in Vermont annually?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't tell you. I'm sure there are people that can tell you at this table, but I can tell you a lot of fluid milk goes into it.
And I only ask because I've heard that 72% number twice today, and frankly, I just don't buy it. Unless there are plants hanging out there that can make up the equivalent of Cabot and Middlebury put together, you know, to double it, I don't see how that.
It's including Cabot, right? Including,
It is.
yeah, it's including
It
Cabot.
Right, but like putting Cabot and Middlebury together, I still only come up with like 35% of the state's milk.
That information is generated from confidential and proprietary business information that EB Flory receives based on the first stop plant that a milk truck makes in the state.
Does that include milk that's processed out of the state, or is it just 70% of the milk that's processed within Vermont? Because that I would believe.
That is all the milk that is processed within the state.
Okay, so
You
it's
just said that it is based on the first plant that truck stops at. So does that mean that truck is actually offloaded at that plant and turned into cheese? Or that's just the driveway they happen to drive down?
That is where the milk is offloaded.
But does it all go?
But presumably that doesn't account for Vermont milk that ends up at Franklin or other bottling plants outside of Vermont. So I think it's,
All the milk that was produced in Vermont and for manufactured.
I don't think it's.
What is the milk? Where is
Not
the milk
possible.
counted that goes direct, that does not stop at a Vermont plant? Where is that accounted for?
Thought that was in that statistic myself. I thought it's.
But that's not, it's not in a Vermont plant. That's-
Yeah, but it doesn't say that specifically. It says all the milk produced in Vermont. 72% of it goes into cheese. That doesn't mean it's not going out of state.
But the fact that Laura just said was that is
You said
based on the
produced-
first plant that truck goes into in Vermont. And if we have milk going direct, Massachusetts or any
Right.
other place, milk that goes into New York, is that accounted for in that number or not?
I don't think.
I thought it was.
It can't be.
It can't be.
If you take what's going into St. Albans, you take in,
Exactly.
you take in what's going directly to Franklin and other bottlers, Concord. And if you take into account what's going into yogurt, there's no way it can be 70%. of our milk
It's worded to sound that way, but I don't
Exactly.
think it's plausible.
Misleading.
It's very misleading, yeah.
We would like to clarify.
So, and
Research
that's
the number.
not to you, Haley, that's.
Oh, I
just
know.
the-
We just went with the ASU background map. Yeah.
So the question, repeat the question. What would you like clarified?
The 72%.
Of the milk that is produced within the state, what ultimately happens to it? What percent of the 2.5 billion is made into cheese? Because I don't for a second think that 1.8 billion pounds of that goes into cheese production.
Even with Cabot and Vermont Creamery, you don't think that's possible?
Not by a mile.
But
We'll get that clarified for you.
But the other thing you need to clarify though, is that milk that's produced in Vermont, it also goes out of state. So the way I took the statistic is saying 72% of the milk that's produced in Vermont gets made into cheese, and that doesn't matter where it goes. It goes to Massachusetts, New York, whatever. That's how I took that figure.
But if it's going to Massachusetts and New York, most of,
Yeah.
my understanding anyways, that
Yeah.
most of that milk is bottled.
But the statistic needs to be correct.
So we'll try to follow up. I don't know if we can get it by the end of the day, but we'll see if we can try to get it by the end of the meeting. If not, we'll send it along in an email. Great. Any more questions? Cheese Council. All right.
Melinda Davis is on for the Vermont Dairy Industry Association.
Okay.
Not for questions for you, Haley, for the next meeting. Perfect.
Hi, Melinda, you're up.
Hi, hi, everybody. So I'm here representing the Vermont Dairy Industry Association. I work for HB Hood, and Amy Maxim with VFA couldn't be here. She's our board president. I've been on the board of the VDIA for the last 6 years. If some of you don't know what the VDIA does, we work with the mutual benefit for members, dairy farms, families, and the dairy industry to encourage and promote close cooperation with educational institutions and other agencies concerned around the dairy industry. So not only promoting dairy consumption, but also promoting potential future leaders, recognizing people that have done exceptional work within the dairy industry. So every year we award the highest quality milk to Vermont dairy producers. All these farmers receive commemorative plaques. We also nominate 3 handlers and farmers for the Vermont Milk Commission for the state of Vermont. We award scholarships to college students that are pursuing a field within the dairy industry and hopefully staying in Vermont. We also co-sponsor the New England Green Pastures Farmer of the Year presentation, where some of the BDPC funds are used for to recognize the Farmer of the Year. This is promoted through Across the Fence, other media organizations that recognize it's a big E. We've also promote 4-H programs and the FFA, supporting teams going to different competitions. We've also supported Vermont Breakfast on the Farm, as well as promoting and giving money for a farm that hosted some 4th grade students, as well as the New England Holstein Summer Show and the Franklin County Dairy Promotion Event. Were a couple events that we provided dairy products for this year. We also hold an annual meeting that provides educational opportunities for farmers, the industry, anybody that would like to attend. It is upcoming, so it hasn't happened yet this year. It'll be on November 19th at the Waterbury Community Steel Room at the Waterbury Town Office. If anyone would like to attend, please reach out. And at that, we're looking to engage current stakeholders within the industry on how the VDIA can kind of be the most relevant we possibly can, while continuing our promotion and the small but mighty important work we do within the state. Are there any questions?
Belinda, what's the date of the meeting again, the annual meeting?
Wednesday, November 19th.
That's in Waterbury.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions for Melinda?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, agency mag.
We're not doing, they receive the updates by
Okay.
email.
All right, I want to take a quick break and then, is it open? Do we have a tab of coffee? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
BDPC members can access beverages and snacks in the cafe. Just let them know what you're grabbing. They have a list of your names. Restrooms are at the top of the stairs.
All right, we'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll get back at it.
I think you just like.
I did the sound.
Was thinking,
Yes.
How'd the polo end up? I saw you loading up the other day. Was it done for you? You know, you gotta see this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. it should.
70% of what's a claypole in the world comes in. And there's thoroughbred shorter.
What's this company?
There's a crazy story. There's three blonde horses. Probably also doing. Yeah, there's 12. Yeah. Yeah, we still have 12 horses. I mean, most of those.
It's bigger than something on the street. Like Dolly. He gets to say that.
He did that. Stuff is just on state. That's but if yeah,
Yeah. So it's supposed to be from a tree.
I noticed that you were talking. And then the other thing I never did, one of it's a
Truck probably.
So that was before I get out was a master cheese process.
Very well done.
People are just looking for experiences and.
Just like.
It's nice.
They need to say what confidential, what proprietary.
So I just thought that
I don't think we can. Spreadsheet. Oh, I'm other sheets for a lot.
So we're at ready. Buying a house, $34 for a house, 20%. It's for sale. And then there's for sale. Get 20%. The other wild card is. Organic Valley has something processed.
I know, so I'm not.
So we have from.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see, there's five.
Yeah. It's great.
And they're very. So. That's nice.
I don't know if they're gonna buy it.
Yeah.
That being said, it's just, it's important to have a local.
Yeah.
Plan.
Anyway, it's not until you sit there. I knew I could spend.
Oh,
We were in the.
So, yeah, so it's 50 employees. And I don't know how much problem is. So that.
Does it work?
Strong on that.
Oh, well.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the Uber, yeah. 13 and.
It is where.
It's like we can
That was the fall for you, must have been.
It was quite special, but to be like, how can you, what can you do? It's like, we have so much.
Yeah, so. I mean, if you're driving,
But yeah, no, the military reps always pop out, and they're always like.
Yeah.
It's just. Yes. Yeah, we have a lot of.
That means you can accept what it is. That was up.
Yes.
But they had told us they won't. These other people. I'm like, really, but
I hope some people want. I hope all you Oh, yeah, robots.
yeah, when it's working, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But if there's this other like. That's, it was quite impressive and then.
They're like doing the filming,
I thought you were gonna tell me like chicken rates. Right.
So I think.
Yeah, up to it. I reached out. Yeah, so we got out. We were very anxious, Randy and I.
No, I.
To wrap up, oh wait, like 6 of them are military. Okay, we're in good company. We felt much better. Well, it's not a.
Okay. Review.
There's a lot of. My guess.
See you. See you.
it's a way to leverage.
So you have housing, prosperity, progress on that?
That was an exercise that
You gave us. Even.
Yeah,
we could have had, we could have affordable housing, we could have conservation, bike trails, and community. We could have had.
It's your class. I've got mine.
We wanted to. Well, you know, we're great.
So what I did was,
That's right.
I don't have my copy.
Yeah.
so basically.
It's always like.
Access. We live in this place, like, so we're better, really better than national. Perfect. That means that's Vermont.
Tomorrow,
So, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we're going through a point.
Yeah.
You might have to.
We have that humanity. They're looking at buying. And just to return back up at these.
Yeah, right, so, yeah, yeah, both. Oh, yes.
This 2-8 zoning.
But I know that OB.
Give the city a choice.
A lot of school. Yeah, which is interesting. Because.
Bond was.
And our process, city has 180 days. You're gonna provide that.
But the other flip side of all,
So
I saw you mention.
Dr. Diane, her name is Leslie.
No, that is huge issue.
the FDA still has a meeting. Yes, yes.
I know.
So
I know, they can't be made milk.
The good thing is their sales are down. So
Yes.
this past year, I think.
Can I ask one question?
They get it.
Because people get wine.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a.
Right, yeah, but it needs to be, we're not allowed to. Yeah, but Yeah, you're right.
So far, so they're good.
That's good.
Yeah.
You just, we
I
have.
feel like there's some that's closed. We already,
Slide them out.
there's one downtown.
Come on, you do it. Keep doing what they're doing.
I mean, there's one all the way to the front.
It is put up. That's much wider too.
The one by, yeah, that's right. It's so, you know, with the University of Maryland.
Oh, I appreciate you asking the question. So I'll see it. It's not regional. It's like.
Yeah, yeah.
Mine is not that.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, yeah, well, we're here. And my kids drove out before it was.
Nice.
So. And then she was a milk tester. Yeah.
Yeah, she does the shows. She still does it. We need schools, we need infrastructure. We got to come.
Yeah, she was with Eliza.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm with Oakland School. Yeah, I just haven't won, so you have to kind of hold it in the co-op.
Yeah.
So you're trying to be.
You have less.
I don't know what the answer's gonna be, so we'll get 12 done.
Issue, which is.
That'll be helpful. That would be helpful. I like
concerned.
on the house, ranch house, on some of the ranch house, to,
Yeah.
to a neighbor boy, who lived, who grew up next to me. He's partners with
You
like.
got two, right? One that is, you leasing and renting one now?
Yeah, we're running one that I'm just gonna buy. Good, you know, local stuff, local guys. We're gonna make that like, having. We're in on that lot, on another 3 acres.
So I'll.
Probably
Next
sell
annual
that
meeting,
at-
you'll be really stressed because
That
we're
won't have
gonna have a
any
wedding.
problems.
Probably be involved in.
Single lot, it's already been done,
Around the
so
corner.
no zoning, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait,
I noticed
some of them they hated this contract.
approach to go, right?
Which was to close out Dallas.
Okay.
Arlington.
Um,
Come back.
Some of the bigger houses.
I like that.
Like, what's around there?
You know, it's a point.
Did you get it?
They were.
Oh, the Cowboys did.
They got bought.
It's
The only thing.
okay, because the building's supposed to be busy.
They're on.
She looks like, just like her sister.
Right, so. If you guys knew, you have to.
It's your fault. You can make something different.
Okay, good place to be.
Totally should. They're gonna write rules.
So, you know, it took my mother 3 tries and she took the 4th try to finally get something different, so. Oh yeah, she had 5 of us because the first 3 were boys.
That's more exciting than a Dallas football game. I want to see some.
I would not
I
recommend
think, I
that.
think it would be a hard itself, Sarah, to
Oh.
get to it. Already taken the big.
So all your milk.
Okay. 6 other.
All you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the farm event. We did one at where?
We're great.
Okay, so I think a point in the agenda that we get to the various proposals that have come forward. And this is gonna take a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of deliberation, and we have a lot of things to discuss. So at this point, I think Beth has a motion.
I have a motion for us to go into executive session to do the request for proposals so that we can talk about each of the proposals that we have been given.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second. And I believe you need a 2/3 majority. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Eugene, thank you. Opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, so,
Thank you to those who came to
Yes.
present this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So everybody that's on the Teams call, except for VDPC members, will need to exit.
Yes, just VDPC members can stay on the line if you're joining us online. And we'll give a couple of moments to get things adjusted here so we can start running through the proposal.
You can also send an email when executive session ends.
Yeah, you're welcome to hang out and join us once we come out. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take notes. Well, we don't need to do minutes for executive session. Folks want a note.
Executive session. They're not.
They can't be posted, but if you guys wanted notes, then we can do that. but Don't score.
Okay, so we still have a bunch of folks from the public on.
Yeah. People online, unless you're a member of VDPC, you need to disconnect and we'll let you know when we're back in the public section.
Yeah. And then it's up for sure.
That's probably what they were too unwieldy to work with on email.
Can you disconnect them?
Yep, I'm gonna work on that now.
Okay.